So today's lesson is going to apply to the strummed string instruments, and especially those that you actually strum. So probably leaving out the bass guitar on this one, but ukulele, electric guitar, acoustic guitar, banjo, a lot of technique goes across all of these different strummed stringed instruments. So the first thing I want to point out to you is that as you're creating your chords in your left hand, you want to put your thumb, the fleshy part of your thumb, right up against the back of the neck of your instrument. So for some reason, I still haven't figured this out in all of my years of teaching. For some reason, everyone who plays wants to let their thumb sneak up here. And so this is like a constant thing in the first at least 5 to 10 lessons that when a student comes in is they'll be playing some chord and they'll be working on some song, and then I've got to like push their thumb back down, and then they, oh yeah, sorry, I'll do that. And then they get back to their song, and then they keep sneaking back up. So if that happens to you 3 million times, that's fine. That puts you about 1 million short of normal. So when you see that thumb start to come up like that, just push it back down and make sure you're keeping that thumb on the back part of the neck. I'm going to switch over to guitar now and point out that on any of these instruments, if you play the strings too hard or press too tight on them, it's going to pull these strings like right now the string is vibrating from here to here. Well, if I play this one normally, then it sounds like a nice D that's in tune. But if I press too hard on these, then it's going to make that string even tighter. It's going to get more and more out of tune the harder I press on it. So this one right here, that's a G. That's cool. But that's a pretty sharp G. So maybe you can hear the difference in those. If I just play that one note there, you can hear this is a G. And then I'll start to press harder and harder on it. So it goes from like a G to almost a G sharp and then back down. So you want to make sure that you press hard enough that it's not buzzing on you, that the string doesn't make a buzzing sound, but that's it. That's as hard as I want you to press. So in general, acoustic players that go to electric guitar end up pressing too hard because it takes a lot more effort to press down on an acoustic guitar in general than on electric. And then people who are playing electric can come to acoustic, actually press almost the perfect amount, and occasionally we'll have problems with buzzing, and it might hurt a little bit more going from electric to acoustic because you're not used to having to press down quite that hard. But in general, people press too hard, and very few people don't press hard enough. So don't press too hard or else it's going to put it out of tune. Then also, when we say that you're supposed to play on a certain fret, we don't actually mean that you're supposed to play on that fret. What we actually mean is you're supposed to play right next to that fret. So let's say we're supposed to be on the 6th string, 3rd fret. So that'd be the 6th string from the ground, because we always count from the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you're on ukulele, we only have 4 strings. And then on the 3rd fret, 1, 2, 3. I don't want you to actually be on the fret like that. So that's like literally on top of the fret. You're just supposed to be as close to that fret as you can without going over, close to your body. So on the 3rd fret, I don't want to be, that's over. So that's too close to my body. We want to be on the far side, pushing it, bringing it closer to my body, but not quite going over that 3rd fret. So as close to the string or close to the fret as possible without going over. And then we want to, when you're practicing chords, play each string individually if you have a lot of buzzing going on. So if you're, playing some, and you hear like that buzzing sound, then while you're playing your chord, and you're like, yeah, this A sounds terrible, I don't know what's going on, then you want to go string by string to find out which one of those is buzzing, because it's usually only going to be 1 or 2 of them that's actually doing the buzzing. So that A sounds great. That one's got some buzzing, so I need to fix that one. That one's got some buzzing, so I need to fix that one. That one's got some buzzing. And then the last one sounds great. So go back through and just pick out string by string which one it is that's doing the buzzing, so you can go through and fix that. It's probably some technique in your finger. We'll be talking more about that. So there's 2 things that happen here. One is buzzing, which is literally that buzz that you hear, and the other one is muting. So like a buzz is closer to a note than a muted note. A muted note just sounds like that, and then a buzzing note sounds like that, and then what we're going for is that, just a nice, crisp, clear sound. So muting and buzzing are almost always related, and it always has something to do with the technique. A lot of times that thumb has come up and we got to drop it back down, and that'll help out with a lot of that stuff. Make sure you keep lots of room between the palm of your hand and the neck of the guitar, and this might be easier to show you on the ukulele or the banjo. Let's switch over to the banjo. So this has got a little smaller neck, a little thinner neck. So the goal here is that we want to have lots of room under here, and that's one of the reasons that bringing that thumb up or getting used to that position where the thumb is up there, that cuts off all this room here, because the goal is when we're playing, and I'll show you this on the other camera, we want our fingers to be coming down at almost a 90-degree angle on these strings. So when we go to play our notes, our chords, then these are just like coming down straight out of the air, right down onto the strings. And then you can see if I've got my thumb back here, I've got lots of room underneath. If I put my thumb up here, now I've closed all that off, and now these fingers are going to have a hard time getting to those strings. So make sure you've got lots of room between the palm of your finger and the neck of your guitar or your ukulele. Then we want to press down, like I said, it's coming in like almost a 90-degree angle on the strings, and we want to imagine that like there's no flesh on your hands and that you're coming down with the bone of your finger, because that's going to be the part that's going to be able to press down the best. If it's kind of off to the side a little bit, then the flesh of your finger is pushing the string down. That's going to take a lot more effort, and it's going to end up probably hurting your finger as well. So the other thing that happens on acoustic guitars is that especially the bigger the body, so the thicker the body, the more we want to look over it like this so we can see what in the world we're doing. And I've got beginning students that end up all the time with a guitar that looks like this so they can see what they're doing. Well, also you can see what's happening here. My thumb is now on top here, and I've closed off all this room. Even if I try to put my thumb under, like that's almost impossible to do, right? So at this point, I kind of have to bring my thumb up, and there's no room under here. So as inconvenient as it is, you got to try to keep this straight up and down, parallel to your body, so that your fingers can come in from on top, because as you try to look over more and more and bring this thing down more and more, we're going to end up cutting off all of our room underneath there. And that's kind of the whole point of all, like, fixing all of these buzzing issues, is trying to get a cleaner, more perpendicular angle for our fingers to come in on. So keep that guitar tight to your body and straight up and down. Then when you're playing individual notes, so we're not playing not playing chords, but playing like solo stuff, we want to, as much as possible, this is a really common thing where we'll have like a finger that's here, and then we're supposed to go 2 frets away, and then the strongest finger is the one that kind of takes over. Well, this is 2 frets away right here from here to here, but what we should have is 1 finger per fret, which means that this finger, this ring finger, and this pinky finger have got to get a little bit stronger. So you're just going to need to work those out so that we've got 1 finger per fret. So if you're supposed to go from here to here, use these 2 fingers here instead of going from here to here, and just always reworking out the fingers that are the strongest fingers already. Now, when we're strumming, we're playing chords over here. We want to make sure that as we're copying strumming patterns that we're hearing and not ones that we're reading. If you hear something that goes like, then you'll hear that and go, dum da dum da dum dum da dum da dum. So what I get all the time from students is stuff that looks like this. And it kind of sounds the same, especially if you're not a guitarist. But if you are a guitarist and you hear that, you're like, oh, that's not the same pattern at all. Those are all down strums. And you can see right here that, and we'll talk more about this when we do strumming patterns too, that I've got like little like pauses and like little hiccups in my movements. Dump, bup, 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 bup. And what we want from our right hand is that strumming pattern just always stays consistent. So this right here, every strumming pattern that I play should look exactly like this. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I can make almost any rhythm out of this back and forth motion by just either playing or not playing. So I could play, or the other one, or all of these look like this in the right hand, and then just playing or not playing is what determines the style, the genre, the strumming pattern. So don't take little pauses for rhythmic breaks in your strumming patterns in your right hand. Now, these last ones here just have to do with kind of like with how and why we're practicing these, especially the chords that we work on. So the first thing is when we're practicing the chords, we want to... So sadly, the lesson preview has come to an end, and it's time to say goodbye to everyone watching the free streams. Of course, paying subscribers at learnpianolive.com can continue watching this lesson and several hundred others like it in the archives. So come on over and check us out, and if you like what you saw, at least like and subscribe, and then tell your friends to head on over to learnpianolive.com to start enjoying this journey with us.